In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold. The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Abracast. This is a Wednesday. This is our book club evening. We've been chipping away at Friedrich Nietzsche's magnum opus. I don't know, his self-help manual, thus Spake Zarathustra. And we're just going to pick it right up this evening. And yeah. I mean, this is a pretty big commitment for me. I mean, pretty big. Let's see here. Do I have anything I need to say before we get going? No, I don't think we do. We have a great September is going to be fucking awesome. It's just going to be awesome. You guys stay tuned for some September stuff. I might preview the September Fellowcraft episode on tonight's podcast. I got that. I got some great Fulgore correspondentia stuff. I mean, I got some great fucking stuff. September's going to be, I mean, forgive me, but September is going to be titties if you're a fan of the show. So, I mean, I'm going to save it. I'm going to fucking save it. I'm going to save it. On the famous wise men, you have served the people and the superstition of the people, all you famous wise men, and not truth. And that is precisely why you were accorded respect. And that you also, why your lack of, I find your lack of faith disturbing. And that is also why your lack of faith was tolerated. It was a joke and a circuitous route to the people. Thus, the master lets his slaves have their way and is even amused by their pranks. But the free spirit, the enemy of fetters, the non-adorer who dwells in the woods, is as hateful to the people as a wolf to dogs. To hound him out of his lair, that is what people have ever called a sense of decency. And against him, the people still set their fiercest dogs. Truth is there after all. The people are there. Let those who seek beware. These words have echoed through the ages. You wanted to prove your people right in their reverence. That is what you called the will to truth. You famous wise men in your hearts ever said to themselves, from among the people I came, and from there too the voice of God came to me as the people advocates. You have always been stiff-necked and clever like asses. And many who were powerful and wanted to get along smoothly with the people harnessed in front of their houses a little ass, the famous wise man. And now I should wish you, famous wise men, that you would at long last throw off the lion's skin completely, the skin of the beast of prey modeled and the mane of those who search, seek, and conquer. Oh, to make me believe in your truthfulness, you would first have to break your revering will. Truth, I call him who goes into godless deserts, having broken his revering heart. In the yellow sands burned by the sun, he squints thirstily at the islands, abounding in wells where living things rest under dark trees, yet his thirst does not persuade him to become like these, dwelling in comfort. For where there are oases, there are also idols. Hungry, violent, lonely, godless. Thus the lion will want itself free from the happiness of slaves, redeemed from gods and adorations, fearless and fear-inspiring, great and lonely, such is the will of the truthful. It was ever in the desert that the truthful have dwelt, the free spirits as masters of the desert. But in the cities dwell the well-fed, famous, wise men, the beasts of burden. For as asses, they will always pull the people's cart. Not that I am angry with them for that, but for me they remain such as serve and work in a harness when they shine in harnesses of gold. And often they have been good servants worthy of praise, for thus speaks virtue. If you must be a servant, seek him who profits most from your service. The spirit and the virtue of your master shall grow by your being his servant. Then you yourself will grow with his spirit and his virtue. And verily, you famous wise men, you servants of the people, you yourselves have grown with the spirit and the virtue of the people. And the people through you. In your honor I say this, but even your virtues remain for me part of the people, the dumb-eyed people. The people who do not know what spirit is. Spirit is the life that itself cuts into life, and its own agony, and increases its knowledge. Did you know that? That the happiness of the spirit is that to the anointed, through tears to be consecrated as a sacrificial animal. Did you know that? And the blindness of the blind and their seeking and groping shall yet bear witness to the power of the sun into which they have looked. Did you know that? And the lover of knowledge shall learn to build with mountains. It means little that the Spirit moves the mountains. Did you know that? You know only the spark of the Spirit, but you do not see the anvil it is, or the cruelty of its hammer. Verily, you do not know the pride of the Spirit, but even less would you endure the modesty of the Spirit if it ever would speak. And you have never yet been able to cast your spirit into the pit of snow. You are not hot enough for that. Hence, you also do not know the ecstasies of the coldness. In all things, however, you act too familiarly with the Spirit, and you have often made wisdom into a poorhouse and a hospital for bad poets. You are no eagles, hence you have never experienced the happiness that is in the terror of the Spirit, and he who is not a bird should not build his nest over abysses. You are lukewarm to me, but all profound knowledge flows cold. Ice cold are the inmost wells of the Spirit, refreshing for the hot hands of men of action. You stand there honorable and stiff and with your straight backs, you famous wise men. No strong wind and will drives you. You have never seen a sail go over the sea rounded and taut and trembling with the violence of the wind. Like the sail trembling with the violence of the spirit. My wisdom goes over the sea. My wild wisdom. But you, servants of the people, you famous wise men, how could you go with me? Thus spoke Zarathustra. Man, that was a good one. I wish I put like a little music under that one. Fuck. Night has come now, all the fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come, only now the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is the song of a lover. Something unstillable is within me, and I want to be voiced. A craving of love is within me. It speaks the language of love. Light am I, that I were night. But this is my dark loneliness, that I now girt with lights, that I were dark and nocturnal. How I would suck at the breasts of light. Whoa, Freddy, calm down. And even you would I bless, you little sparkling stars and glowworms up there, and be overjoyed with your gifts of light. But I live in my own light. I drink back into myself the flames that break out of me. I do not know the happiness of those who receive, and I have often dreamed that even stealing must be more blessed than receiving. This is my poverty, that my hand never rests from giving. This is my envy, that I see wanting eyes and the lit up nights of longing. Oh, wretchedness of all givers. Oh, the darkening of my sun. Oh, craving to crave. Oh, ravenous hunger. The satiation. They receive from me, but do I touch their souls? There is a cleft between giving and receiving. And the narrowest cleft is the last to be bridged, and a hunger grows out of my beauty. I should like to hurt those for whom I shine. I should like to rob those whom I give. Thus do I hunger for malice, to withdraw my hand, when the other hand already reaches out to it, to linger the waterfall which lingers even while it plunges. Thus do I hunger for malice. Such revenge my fullness plots, such spite wells up out of my loneliness. My happiness is giving, died in giving. My virtue tired of itself and in its overflow. The danger of those who always give is that they lose their sense of shame. And the heart and the hand of those who always meet out become callous from always meeting out. My eyes no longer wells over at the shame of those who beg. My hand has grown too hard for the trembling of filled hands. And when the tears of my eyes gone and the down of my heart, oh, the loneliness of all givers, oh, tecternity of all who shine. Many suns revolve in the void. To all that is dark, they speak with their light. To me, they are silent. Oh, this is the enmity of the light against what shines. Merciless it moves inside its orbit, unjust of the heart against all that shines, cold against suns. Thus moves every sun. The suns fly like a storm in their orbits. That is their motion. They follow their inexorable will. That is their coldness. Oh, it is only you, you dark ones, you nocturnal ones, who create warmth out of that which shines. It is only you who drink milk and refreshment of its udders of life. Alas, ice is all around me. My hand is burdened by the ice. Alas, thirst is within me that languishes after your thirst. Night has come, alas, and must be light and thirst for the nocturnal and the loneliness. Night has come now, my craving breaks out of me like a well. To speak, I crave. Night has come now, all fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come now, and all the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is a song of a lover. Thus sang Zarathustra. I like this one. It reminds me of Bela Lugosi is Dead. Do you hear it? Undead, undead, Bela Lugosi is dead. The dancing song. One evening, Zarathustra walked through a forest with his disciples. And he sought a well. Behold, he came upon a green meadow, silently surrounded by trees and shrubs. And upon it, girls were dancing with each other. Yeah, man. Zarathustra is... I think he's... I don't know. I'm going to keep it to myself. He came upon a green meadow, silently surrounded by trees and shrubs, and upon it were goth girls dancing to Bela Lugosi's Dead. And as soon as the girls recognized Zarathustra, they ceased dancing. But Zarathustra walked up to them with a friendly gesture and spoke these words. I'm dead, Bela Lugosi's dead. Zarathustra walked up to them with a friendly gesture and spoke these words. Do not cease dancing, you lovely girls. No killjoy has come to you with evil eyes, and no enemy of girls. God's advocate am I before the devil, but the devil is the spirit of gravity. And how could I, you light-footed ones, be an enemy of the godlike dances or of the girls' feet with pretty ankles? Indeed, I am a forest and a night of dark trees, but he who is not afraid of my darkness will also find rose slopes under my cypresses. And he will also find the little god whom girls like best. Besides the well, he lies still, with his eyes shut. Verily, in bright daylight he fell asleep. The sluggard, did he chase after the butterflies too much? Do not be angry with me, you beautiful dancers, if I chastise the little god a bit. He may cry and weep, but he is laughable. Even when he weeps with his tears, his eyes, he shall ask you for a dance, and I myself will sing a song for his dance, a dancing and mocking song of the spirit of gravity, and supreme and most powerful devil, of whom they say that he is the master of the world. And this is the song that Zarathustra sang while Cupid and the girls danced together. In your eyes I looked recently, O life, and into the unfathomable I then seemed to be sinking, but you pulled me out with a golden fishing rod, and you laughed mockingly when I called you unfathomable. Thus runs the speech of all fish. You said, what they do not fathom is unfathomable, but I am merely changeable and a wild and a woman in every way and not virtuous. Even if you men call me profound, faithful, eternal, and mysterious, but you men always present us with your own virtues, oh, you virtuous men. Thus she laughed, the incredible one, but I never believe her in her laughter when she speaks ill of herself, and when I talked in confidence with my wild wisdom, she said to me in anger, you will, you want, you love. That is the only reason why you praise life. And I almost answered quickly and told the angry woman the truth. There is no more wicked answer than telling one's wisdom the truth. For thus matters stand among the three of us deeply. I love only life, and verily most of all when I hate life. And when I am well disposed towards wisdom, and often too well, that is because she remembers me. She reminds me so much of life. She has her eyes, her laugh, and even her little golden fishing rod. It is my fault that the two look so similar. And when life once asked me, who is the wisdom, I answered fervently, oh yes, wisdom. One thirsts after her and is never satisfied. Oh, one looks through the veils and one grabs through the nets. Is she beautiful? How should I know? But even the oldest carps are baited with her. She is changeable and stubborn. Often I've seen her bite her lip and comb her hair against the grain. Perhaps she is evil and false and a female in every way, but just when she speaks ill of herself, she is the most seductive. And when I said this to life, she laughed sarcastically and closed her eyes. Of whom are you speaking? She asked. No doubt of me, and even if you are right, you that be said to my face, but you speak of your wisdom too. Ah, and then you open your eyes again, O beloved life, and again I seemed to myself to be sinking into the unfathomable. Thus sang Zarathustra, but when the dance was over, the girls had gone away, and he grew sad. The sun has set long ago, he said, and last the meadow is moist, and a chill comes from the woods. Something unknown is around me and looks thoughtful. What? Are you still alive, Zarathustra? Why? What for? By what? Whither? Where? How? It is not folly to still be alive. Alas, to my friends, it is the evening that asked thus. Through me, forgive me my sadness. Evening has come, and forgive me that evening has come. Thus spoke Zarathustra. I'm just going to keep going. I just need to lube up here. Well, hey, on second thought, let's do this. So this is a sneak peek at next month's Fellow Craft episode. It's a great one. It's so fucking good. I hope you guys like it. I'm dead, undead, Bela Lugosi's dead.
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content and access to the private Abracast workgroup by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com. On this month's exclusive Order of the Fellowcraft episode.
Towards Mount Rainier, he saw 9 gleaming discs outlined against the snow, each one about the size of a C-54. Is it a function of false reporting? Is it a function of media incompetence or straight up misinformation? From my point of view, every, quote, flying saucer, unquote, story from this point on is at least a suspect for some sort of corruption. It has been over 2 years since the puzzling death of Captain Mantell. Mantell died mysteriously in the skies south of Fort Knox, but before his radio went silent, he sent a strange message to Goodman Air Force Base.
Support the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
The Tomb Song. There is an island of tombs, the Silent Isle. There, too, are the tombs of my youth. There, I wish to carry an evergreen wreath of life. Resolving this in my heart, I crossed the sea. Oh, you visions of the apparitions of my youth. Oh, you all glances of love. You divine moments, how quickly you died. Today I recall you like dead friends. From you, my dearest friends among the dead, a sweet scent comes to me. Loosening heart and tears. Verily, it perturbs and loosens the heart of the lonely seafarer. I am still the richest and most enviable. I, the loneliness, for once I possessed you, and you shall possess me. Say to whom I fell as to me. Such rose apples from the bough. I am still the heir of your love, and its soil, flowering in remembrance of you, with motley and wild virtues, O you most loved ones. Alas, we were fashioned to remain close in each other. You fair and strange wonders, you came to me in my craving, not like shy birds, but like trusting ones. To him who trusts indeed fashion for loyalty, like myself, and for the tender eternities. I must now call you after your disloyalty, your divine glances and moments. I have yet learned any other name, verily. You have died too soon for me, you fugitives. Yet you did not flee from me, nor did I flee from you. We are equally innocent in our disloyalty. To kill me, they strangled you, the songbirds of my hopes. Indeed, after you, my dearest friends, malice has ever shot its arrows to hit my heart. And it hit, for you have always been closest to my heart, my possession, and what possessed me. That is why you had to die young and all too early. That arrow was shot at my most vulnerable possession, at you, whose skin is like down and even more like a smile that dies of a glance. But this word I want to speak to my enemies. What is all murder of human beings compared to that which you have done to me? What you have done to me is more evil than any murder of human beings. You have taken from me the irrevertible. Thus I speak to you, my enemies, for you murdered the visions of my dearest wonders of youth. My playmates, you took from me the blessed spirits in their memory. I lay down this wreath and this curse against you, my enemies. For you have cut short my eternal bliss as a tone that breaks off in a cold night, and scarcely as the gleam of divine eyes it came to me, passing swiftly as a glance. Thus spoke my purity once in a fair hour. All beings shall be divine to me. Then you assaulted me with filthy ghosts. Alas, when you this fair hour fled now, all days shall be holy to me. Thus said the wisdom of my youth, verily, when it was saying of the gay wisdom. But then you, my enemies, stole my nights from me and sold them into sleepless agony. Alas, where has this gay wisdom fled now? Once I carved happy omens from birds. Then you led a monster of an owl across my way, revolting one. Alas, where did my tender desire flee then? All nausea I once vowed to renounce, but you changed those near and nearest to me like putrid boils. Alas, where did my noblest vow flee then? I once walked as a blind man among blessed paths. Then you threw filth in the path of the blind man, and now this old footpath nauseates him. And when I did what was hardest for me and celebrated the triumph of my overcomings, then you made those who loved me scream that I was hurting them most. Verily, this was always your practice. You galled my best honey in the industry of my best bees. To my charity, you always dispatched the most impungent beggars. The most impudent beggars around my pity. You always pushed the inexorably shameless. Thus you wounded my virtue in its faith. And whenever I laid down my sacrifices, even what was holiest to me, your piety immediately placed its fatter gifts alongside, and in the fumes of your fat was the holiest to me suffocated. Once I wanted to dance as if I had never danced before. Over all the heavens I wanted to dance when you persuaded my dearest singer. And he struck up a horrible, dismal tune. Alas, he tooted in my ear like a gloomy horn. Murderous singer, tool of malice, most innocent yourself. I stood ready for the best dance, and when you muttered my ecstasy with your sounds only in the dance, do I know how to tell the parable of the highest things. And now my highest parable remained unspoken in my limbs. My highest hope remained unspoken and unredeemed. And all the visions and all the consolidations of my youth died. How did I endure it? How did I get over it and overcome such wounds? How did my soul rise again out of such tombs? And indeed, in me there is something invulnerable and unburiable. Something that explodes rock. That is my will. Silence is unchanged. It strides through the years. It would walk its way on my feet. My old will. It is my mind is hard and heart is invulnerable. Invulnerable am I only in the heel. You are still alive in your old self, most patient one. You still are broken out of every tomb. And in my youth was unredeemed lives on in you. Unredeemed lives on in you. And as life and youth, you sit there full of hopes on ruined yellow tombs. Indeed, for me, you are still the shatterer of all tombs. And hail to thee, my will. And only where there are tombs, there are resurrections. Thus sang Zarathustra. All right, we'll do one more tonight. We'll do one more this evening. And then we'll meet back up for the Abercast Book Club next Wednesday. On self-overcoming. Will to truth. You who are wisest call that which impels you and fills you with lust. A will to the thinkability of all things. This I call your will. You want to make all being thinkable. For you doubt with well-founded suspicion that it is already thinkable, but it shall yield and bend for you. Thus your will wants it. It shall become smooth and serve the spirit as the mirror and reflection. And what is your whole will? You who are the wisest, a will to power. When you speak of good and evil too, and evaluations, you still want to create the world before which you can kneel. That is your ultimate hope and intoxication. The unwise, of course, the people, they are like a river on which the bark drifts. And in the bark sit the valuations, solemn and muffled up. Your will and your valuations have placed on the river of becoming, and that the people believe to be good and evil, that betrays to me an ancient will to power. It was you who are wisest who placed such guests in the bark and gave them pomp and proud names. You are your dominant will. Now the river carries your bark farther and has to carry it, and avails nothing that the broken wave foams and angrily opposes the keel. Not that the river is your danger and the end of your good and evil. You who are wisest. But that will itself, the will to power, the unexhausted, procreated will of life. To make you understand my word concerning good and evil, I shall now say to you my word concerning life and the nature of all the living. I'm going to get myself in trouble reading this. I pursue the living. I walked the widest and the narrowest path, and I might know its nature with 100-fold mirror. I still caught its glance and its mouth when closed, so that its eyes might speak to me. And its eyes spoke to me, but wherever I found the living, there I heard also the speech on obedience. Wherever lives, obeys. And this is the second point. Who cannot obey himself is commanded. That is the nature of the living. This, however, is the third point that I heard. That commanding is harder than obeying. And not only because he who commands must carry the burden of all who obey, and because his burden may easily crush him, an experiment and hazard appeared to me to be in all commanding. And whenever the living commands, it hazards itself indeed. Even when it commands itself, it must still pay for its commanding. It must become the judge, the avenger, and the victim of its own law. And how does this happen? I asked myself. What persuades the living to obey and command, and to practice obedience when it commands? Hear then my words, you who are the wisest. Test in all seriousness whether I have crawled into the very heart of life, and into the very roots of its heart. Where I found the living, here I found the will to power. And even in the will of those who serve, I found the will to be master. And the weaker should serve the stronger, and that it is persuaded by its own will, which would be master over what is weaker still. This is one's pleasure it does not want to renounce, and the smaller yields to the greater. And it may have pleasure and power over the smallest, even though the greatest still yields. And for the sake of power, risks a life. That is the yielding of the greatest. It is the hazard and danger and casting dice for death. And where men make sacrifices and serve the cast and amorous glances, there too is the will to be master along stealthily paths. The weaker still steals into the castle and into the very heart of the more powerful, and there steals power. And life itself confide to the secret to me. Behold, it said, I am that which must always overcome itself. Indeed, you call it a will to procreate or to drive to an end or something higher, farther, more manifold. But all this is one and one secret. Rather would I perish and forswear this than verily where there is perishing and falling of leaves, and behold, their life sacrifices itself for power. And I must be struggle in a becoming and an end to an opposition to end. Alas, whoever guesses that is my will should also guess on what crooked paths must proceed. Whatever I create and however much I love it, soon I must oppose it and my love. Thus my will wills it, and you too, lover of knowledge, are only a path and footprint of my will. Verily, my will to power walks also on the heels of your will to truth. And indeed, the truth was not hit by him who shot at it with the word of the will to existence. That will does not exist. Hence the long sigh. For what does not exist cannot will. But what is in existence? How could that still want existence? Only where there is life is there also will. Not a will to life, but thus I teach you a will to power. There is much that life esteems more highly than life itself, but the esteeming itself speaks the will to power. Thus life once taught me, and with this I shall yet solve the riddle of your heart. You who are the wisest, verily I say unto you, God, good and evil, that are not transitory, do not exist, driven only by themselves. They must overcome themselves again and again. With your values and your words of good and evil, you do violence when you value. And this is your hidden love. And the splendor and trembling of your overflowing and of your soul. But a more violent force and a new overcoming grow out of the values and break egg and eggshell. And whoever must be the creator in good and evil, verily he must first be an annihilator and break values. Thus the highest evil belongs to the highest goodness. But this is creative. Let us speak of this, you who are wisest, even if it is bad. Silence is worse. The truths are kept silent, become poisonous, and many everything be broken, and cannot brook our truths. There are yet many houses to be built. Thus spake Zarathustra. All right, that's going to end this evening's episode of the Abercast Book Club, Thus Spake Zarathustra, by apparently the depressing and horny Friedrich Nietzsche. Hey, I love it. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I do appreciate it. Check the degrees. Check out the website altogether. Check out the degrees section of the website. I have some fantastic stuff. Many fantastic things dropping just next month for the Fulgur Correspondentia degree. So check that out. And if you're interested, they're so good. I'm biting my tongue because I just need to wait until Sunday to tell you about it. And yeah, that's it. So this week's episode was, I don't know, me. The voiceover work was by Hilla Assor. You can check her out at hillaassor.com. HILAASSOR.com. She's a fantastic human being. And with that being said, I'm John. This has been the Abercast, and thank you guys. I feel like I should end. I feel like I should do something to end here. I'm John. This has been the Abercast, and thank you.
On this month's exclusive Order of the Fellowcraft episode.
Towards Mount Rainier, he saw 9 gleaming discs outlined against the snow, each one about the size of a C-54. Is it a function of false reporting? Is it a function of media incompetence or straight up misinformation? From my point of view, every, quote, flying saucer, unquote, story from this point on is at least a suspect for some sort of corruption. It has been over 2 years since the puzzling death of Captain Mantell. Mantell died mysteriously in the skies south of Fort Knox, but before his radio went silent, he sent a strange message to Goodman Air Force Base.
Support the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.